Everybody. I'm going to walk you through how to take your drawing from comic form and color it using an online Photoshop program. The first thing I did was, of course, made the drawing, and I made a scan of it using this app called Genius Scan, which is really handy. And the best way to do that is to take it outside. That way you have even light. If you take it in a dark room, it's not going to scan well. Here's the result. You can see that I tried to compose the images as well as possible, which basically means filling the square, taking the sort of central image of each panel and making it as big as possible while leaving room for text, and also thinking about negative space, right? So the area between the head and the ear and the text bubble, for instance, things like that. This sort of horizon line in the through the window makes a nice shape. Here's the app. It's called Genius Scan. It's good for photographing receipts and things. It has a nice crop tool function, which is really easy to figure out. That's what got me this really crisp black and white image. All right, so the next thing we do is go to this website called Photopea, which is really handy. I'm just going to go to New Project. I'm going to change the DPI to 300. That's dot pixels per square inch, and that's photo print quality. That means that if you take it to a printer, it'll be the exact same size as you designed it or as you photographed it, something like that. So if you're going to print anything, make sure it's at 300 DPI. So you can change the name, I guess. I'm setting it 10 by 10 inches because that's the size of the drawing I made. That way I know when I add the image and fit it to the square, it's going to be sharp. At this point, I'm going to go up to here to Image. Let's see, File. No, where is it? Where'd it go? Image. Edit. File. Oh, here we go. Open and place. And I'm going to find my comic that I scanned and cropped using Genius Scan. That's going to drop it in there, and then I'm going to rescale it, clicking the edge of the box. I'm going to hold down Shift, because if I don't, I can skew it all over the place. If I hold down Shift, it keeps the proportions correct. I'm just going to drag it to the corner of the canvas. In Photoshop, your working area is called the canvas. You can go to your magnifying tool here and double-click it to see actual size. So if you printed it at full size, that's how it would look. You can click it, fit the area as well. So you can see over here on your layers section on the right-hand side, you have a couple layers. You can click the eyeball and make it go away. I'm going to, this is my background. You can change the color if you wanted. I'm going to go to my drawing layer and select this thing, and I'm going to go to multiply. And you'll see what that does in a moment. Then I'm going to add a new layer. You go down here and click this little paper icon, and I'm going to drag it and put it underneath that drawing. It actually doesn't really matter too much. Now I'm going to go to this first panel. I'm going to zoom in on it. If I click this magnifying glass, I can do that. And you can go up here to the top left and select magnify, go in or out, right? I'm going to grab this hand tool and position my image right in the middle so I can see it well. Then make sure I'm selecting that new layer. You want to do that. That way you're creating artwork on a new layer and you're not damaging the drawing layer. Select that new layer. And I'm going to go to my lasso tool, which is right here. You have lasso, which looks like this. I double click to get rid of that. Then you have the straight line lasso tool, which is really handy for doing like that, for outlining that window, for instance. And then you have the kind of cheat option, which is the magnetic lasso tool, and we're going to use that. In fact, I'm going to zoom in a couple more times just to make sure. All right, at this point, you can see what happens. I'm going to start to outline just by clicking here. It's going to take a second to think. This is a crazy program. It works really well, though, but it will lag a bit. I'm trying my best to actually hug the outside of the shape, but sometimes it looks like that lasso tool is popping on the inside, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. I'm just trying to outline her face first. And if you miss something like the nose right there, you can go back and add it. So I'm just going to outline her head and her hair And if you click where you started, it'll fill it in. Now, if you want to add a bit more, you just have to hold down Shift. I'm going to start a new line. It's thinking. Oh, if it starts to jump around, you can click, and that makes like an anchor point. Because it's trying to guess what you want to do. Oops. I clicked one too many times, so I'm going to undo by hitting Control-Z. You could probably also go up to Edit and do that. But you all know from using Microsoft Word, Control-Z is undo. So I'm going to highlight this nose again. And this will take some practice, but that's fine. Oh, God. Bear with me. Okay, that didn't work. We're just going to skip the nose for now. I'm going to click this color box for now, and I'm going to pick a color that I want to make her. It doesn't matter. I'll make her this weird yellowy green, for instance. Then we're going to go to our Fill Paint Bucket tool, which is next to this gradient button. I don't know why they make the gradient the first option. You hold down that little gradient tool option and go down to Paint Bucket. Then selecting your color and hit OK. Now you can see it's made of that color. I'm going to fill this area in. Now I'm going to go back and fix her nose. All right. Double clicking the lasso tool somewhere else will release it from the page, and then we can zoom out. I'm holding down Option to zoom out, or I can just click the zoom out button, and you can see what happens, right? Now, if my drawing were in its normal version, it wouldn't show the color below. It has to select multiply. You can do all sorts of crazy stuff, like if you select, let's see, overlay, it'll do that, difference, it'll like make it inverted, things like that. But for comics, I use the multiply option. So, simple as that. You could just go in and color all your things, right? So to take a 4-panel comic and color this is going to take some time. But we have about, 6 hours plus a little bit for homework allotted for this project. And I'm going to say it's not due until the Tuesday we get back, which is like the 31st. So email me if you have any questions. My new email is lsjohnson5@UALR. And can't wait to see what you guys do. Last thing, by the way, because we're jumping into Photoshop land, I don't mind if you use lines in this. So create shapes of color, but also use your lines and have fun. We were going to use just cut paper before and focus on that, but why not just go for it and see what we get this way, making kind of traditional comics. All right, so have fun. Email me with any questions, and have a good quarantine.